All right, there I am. Thank you.
Yep, we're good. We're good to go.
You pass this down to Paul.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome. June meeting, Foundation Board of Directors.
Hey, Steve, can you get-
Roll, please, certify the quorum.
everybody speak in their microphone so we can hear you online? Okay.
Check.
Thank you.
No.
Right. Okay, we have Matt Barger, Karen Kilmartin, Steve Burke, Margie Cassia, Pat Kepke in person, and we have Nathaniel Monks on Zoom, so we have a quorum. And notice was posted in accordance with the Florida statute.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the prior meeting's minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. Now for your presence report. So we are, as everyone knows, it's hot out and we're summer. And the census here at Pelican Marsh has dropped dramatically, and in Naples in general, we're seeing fewer people, less traffic.
Whoa.
Mule. Hello. Okay, all right. We're feeling this here at Pelican Marsh at Nest, our restaurant. So the usage from our residents has dropped off. That's taken a nosedive, and we are looking at some pretty grim numbers here. We need the community to use this amenity in order for it to be successful. Now, I know I've said a few times that this is the community investment. The community paid for this thing. It paid for the construction, pays for the management, and for this investment to have a return, positive return for the community, we need to use it. So we need to be generating more revenue there. We need more people to come. Talk to your friends and neighbors. We are all going to do this, and we have a number of programs in mind to stimulate the people who are here, and there are a lot of them still in Pelican Marsh, who renters and owners who we would like to see come to this. We have a couple of initiatives that we're working on to stimulate more usage. Right now, though, the responsibility is principally that of the residents, and we would really like to see more folks there. It is, I know the objections are largely centered around the weather, and I just had lunch there, and it's very pleasant under the fans inside the canopy. So please don't let that dissuade you. We're going to be announcing that Suite C will be available for dining in the future. I think it's the future very soon, so that people who want to have an air-conditioned indoor experience can have one. Outside of that, though, really need people to be using the restaurant. And now we'll move on to our treasurer's report. Nathaniel from Oklahoma.
Hi, everybody. For those of you actually in the room, it's different because I'm on Zoom. And for those of you on Zoom, it's normal. I'm on Zoom. The treasurer's report today, Paul will screen share with us a little bit. I'll go over what I'm going to go over. The administration and operating expenses continuing overall over budget, mainly due to timing. We have a large amount of money come in at the beginning of the year because everybody pays their HOA fees. And then later in the year, we have to pay certain bills like your Comcast. Fitness results, they finished at budget expectations. Court sports is behind target, but that actually will change as the year goes on because we spend less money in the summer, and that will catch up. Social activities, Slightly below budget, 4,700 below budget. Food and beverage today, up to date, as you know, if you've been going to these meetings, we've lost money starting on January 1 when we had a restaurant with no customers, and finally we was able to open at the very end of February. Also, as Steve mentioned, the Nest now has way less customers than ever before, and as your treasurer, I would like for you to consider going to the Nest and buying me a drink and tell them to hold it till I get back. Resale fees. Now, the resale fees is a good news, bad news thing. We budgeted 75 resales for this year, which is bad because we knew sales were slowing down. So resales are much slower than they were last year. And however, we knew that was coming, so we budgeted and we guessed, and everybody knew there was no way to guess with the economy like it is to make an accurate guess. We budgeted 75. The good news is that at the end of last month, we were at 59. And today, even in the middle of the month, I can tell you that we're already at 65 and maybe even slightly over. So we know that 65 is already done of the 75. That's good news. The bad news is that that's way less than last year. Last year, sales were faster. All right, let's go to the next page, page 2. Also, as always, if you have any questions about this, if I seem to go too fast, I am sorry. Later in the winter, I do slow down because there's more people there and more people have questions. But this is on our website at the Pelican Marsh website. Now, on this page, you see our operating fund. That's the fund we pay our bills out of, where your HOA fee goes. And you should see at the bottom of the column at 2.3 million is much more than top of the column. That's because everybody paid their HOA fees. We haven't paid a lot of bills out of that yet. There's a lot of bills due out of that, and that's why it's a little over budget. It's just that we haven't received the bills for some of these things. It actually is a smaller number than we expected out of that operating budget, the operating fund. That 2.3 million should be larger, and that's because we did not get to open our restaurant in time, and because we've had a lot of expenses due to COVID and what have you. Replacement fund is the fund where we save up to replace things that we know are going to someday need to be, they're going to wear out, and replace them. This board has made the very wise move of taking every dollar for resale fees and packing it into that replacement fund. No other dollar goes anywhere else until that replacement fund is fully funded for the year 2022, and it is fully funded for the year 2022. So congratulations, everybody. We did sell enough houses to get that replacement fund so that we don't even have to think about that again until January 1. More on that in a few minutes. The capital fund, this is the fund where we spend money to make new improvements. As you can see, it started off at 280,000 at the beginning of the year, and now it's only at 55,000. And that is because we were still adding to the Nest. Mostly that's what that is we were adding to the Nest after January 1. And we continued improvements and receiving bills for things that had been done. So now it's at 55,000. And I want to mention that every time now, the board, in the past, the board has allocated that those all monies from resale fees go to replacement fund. And then after that, they would be split between the operating fund and the capital fund. When I get through with this treasurer's report, I'm going to recommend to the board that we vote to make all the dollars for the rest of the year, since the replacement fund is fully funded, to go into the operating fund to make sure that we have the dollars available to carry out what we need to do. We have no plans to build any new amenities this year. That's for some future day. Next page, page 3, please. On page 3, you see our revenues and expenses for the fitness, and compare it to our budget, right to the second column, and then to the third column, you can see how this compares to 2021. Now, what we've done to make this easier to understand, sorry about the background noise, is that we put a 2019 column on the far right. For those of you who are a little bit of eggheads and love numbers, and you're wondering how these numbers compare to pre-COVID, then that's what your far right column is. And you can study that later on the website if you like, but you can see 2019, we had greater revenues in fitness and in court sports. And you see those greater revenues because in fitness, a lot of people still are being cautious about COVID. And there's a few other loose ends, but it's getting better. You can see the budgeted was 158 and now we're at 173. Social revenues, that's just amazing. You see the revenues there at 74,000. That means that Miss Lynn is just doing amazing amount of work and providing lots of activities for people to do. And that you even compare that to pre-COVID, and it looks like that we're suddenly a more exciting community. Look how those numbers compare to budgeted 21,000. Dropping down to food and beverage, this would be great. The Nest, you see the revenues, 244,000. And you see that so far at the end of May, we had lost 135,000 ballpark. We will lose more money if you guys don't really hit the Nest hard during the summer. And so we should have our birthday parties at the Nest this summer. Page 4, please. Happy subject. The 5 months actual resale fees. We sold 63 houses. 4 of them were people moving around in Pelican Marsh. So we collected and kept 59 of those fees. At this point, we're supposed to have 44. We're at 59, and we've already had a good month since this paper was written. Total resale fees, $352,500. And you'll see at the very bottom, there was one holdover from the old rate of $4,500 that we used to charge when you had a resale, and 58 of those were at the new 6,000. Somebody was really slow with their paperwork, but that's the difference there. Okay, we can stop screen sharing, Paul. As I mentioned earlier, at the January 2022 board meeting, the board approved the policy to allocate all resale fees to the replacement account until required funding was achieved for the year. Additionally, the board agreed to keep the options open for reallocating the future resale fees into other accounts as needed. With our current year-to-date losses in food and beverage due to not being open in January, February, and these other factors, I make the motion that we allocate all resale fees received for the remainder of this year into operations to help cover those losses. And I would make that motion at this time. Do I hear a second, please?
He's frozen.
Must be no.
Okay.
All right, again, you
Okay.
froze.
Okay, what was the last word you heard me say?
Repeat.
Just restate the motion.
Okay. With our current year-to-date losses in food and beverage due to not being open in January and February and other opening factors, I make the motion that we allocate all resales received for the remainder of this year into operations to help cover those losses. Can I have a second to that motion, please?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's the end of the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Nathaniel. All Foundation Managers report.
Okay, so summer has certainly arrived now, because we can definitely see all the activity slowing down around the community center. For those members who've headed back north, please make sure that your home is being properly monitored and that all necessary cleaning and maintenance is being kept up with while you're away. For those members sticking around this summer, as I mentioned last month, we'll be doing a lot of projects, such as cleaning the walkways and patio decks coming up, releveling the bocce courts, and cleaning the carpets and tiles inside the building. So please take note of the detour signs we have posted during those times when the work is being done. At the CDD meeting yesterday, they reported that the construction for the new entry gates is planned to start hopefully this October. The first guardhouse they'll be doing will be the Vanderbilt entrance. They also reported that the sheriff deputies have been contracted and are now coming in and doing patrols in Pelican Marsh to give out tickets for speeders and other traffic violations. We've already mentioned a few times they've already pulled people over for that, or even walkers walking the bike lane, which is against the rules too. So please adhere to the rules and watch out for the traffic and going on and the walkers to keep everybody safe this summer. We also want to remind all the members to provide us with your email addresses and other contact information so we can keep everyone updated and informed with what's happening in Pelican Marsh, such as including we'll be sending out on a weekly basis, sending out summer specials that Nest will be providing. So we want you to get those and be aware of what's happening with the specials. So please see Linda or Monique in the admin office to provide you with your contact information if needed. For those who dined at Nest this past Saturday and participated in the Belmont Stakes event, the raffle ticket drawing for the $50 Nest gift card that was done was drawn yesterday, and the winning ticket number will be email blasted out today. So the winner just needs to come by with their winning ticket stub and collect their gift card. And the staff at Nest and I want to thank everyone who attended the event to make it a fun night for all. Lastly, the staff and I always want to thank the members for their guests for the participation. And we want to make sure that they have a positive experience when using our amenities and services here at the foundation. So if anyone has a suggestion or comment or a concern, we want to know about it. So just send me an email and I'll do my best to see what can be done to get the situation rectified. And that's my report.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, section 9, new business. 9.1, approval of proposed amendments to the rules, regulations, and policies. As you know, the board has reviewed, with Paul's help, all of the rules, regulations, and policies. With the exception of one tennis and one pickleball rule, which I will tell you about now, we are going to motion to approve the proposed amendments. The tennis rule, which is the same for pickleball, speaks to guests 4 times a month as a limit on guest participation year-round. The board has decided that this applies well to in-season applications, but would like to see data of summer court usage and guest attendance here at Pelican Marsh before making a decision about the out of season portion of this rule. Therefore, this rule will be deferred. The consideration of the rule will be deferred until the October meeting, at which point the board will make a decision on that rule. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to approve all of those amended rules, regulations, and procedures.
Make a motion to approve the amendments to rules, regulations, and policies for Pelican Marsh Foundation.
Second.
Is there any board discussion on this?
Paul and Steve, but a few times, is the $10 guest fee in the one we're going to approve now, or is that part of?
That's the next.
Talk
Next.
about that. It's 9.2. Any community questions? Yes.
Tim Carter, Water Guys. I have a question about done time changes in all of this. Explain the rationale behind that. And why we're changing from 12:30, 12:30 or whatever it was. There must be some rationale. Most court play runs 8 to 9:30, 9:30 to 11, 11, 12:30. Is that going to interfere with your time?
Paul?
No, I spoke to Johan. He said that would not interfere.
Any other questions? Okay.
Steve, I just want to clarify that we're voting on these rules with the exception of Rule 12, right?
Rule C12 and D13, which are essentially the same rule for tennis and pickleball.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All in favor of Marky's motion? Say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. 9.2, approval of new guest fee structure. Okay, so the guest fees at Pelican Marsh for use of the community center facilities, including the tennis courts, pickleball courts, fitness center, all of that. There were a variety of different fees based on the time of day, whether it was season, non-season. There is a proposed new guest fee structure, which is $10 a day, year-round, morning, afternoon, whatever. And the overnight guests who had before had a selection of passes, all these passes are being eliminated in favor of a $25 weekly pass. This would be then renewed if necessary. So may I have a motion to approve the new proposed guest fee structure?
Can I just ask?
In a minute. May I have a motion to approve the new guest fee?
I so move.
Second,
Second.
is there any board comment?
I would like to comment, Mr. President.
Okay.
Can I just make a note for the minutes that it seems like it would behoove our residents as well as our administrative staff, that our general manager makes sure that everybody on staff and by e-blast, email, understands that this is our new guest fee structure, and it is for every day throughout the year.
So noted, thank you. Other board comment? Rich,
Hey,
I just had a
Rich,
quick question.
can you come up so they can hear you on Zoom? Rich, I can't hear you otherwise. Use one of these microphones.
Just looking at the pass structure, which no longer is in effect, it says current Pelican Marsh Community Center facilities guest fee. So it doesn't say facilities in the proposal. So I just wondered what that means. Does that mean like for all facilities, bocce, everything is a guest? Does it mean like if I had a football watch party for a club I'm in, I used this room and the projector, and I don't remember, I think I had to pay a fee or something
There's
because I
something
didn't have
separate.
enough guests.
There's something separate in the notes.
Is there something about that?
Yes.
This is just to show the new rates. We have the headline of the proposed, or the guest fees will have the stated what's applied to it.
Okay, good. So this is just the amount. that
Just the
changed.
amounts we're changing.
Got it. Thank you.
you bet, thank you. Are there other resident comments?
John
John Petke.
John Kepke, House Reporter. Is this for pickleball, bocce?
It's for all
All
facilities use. Yeah. Any other comment? Yes, Jim.
Is that universal cover? I pay $10 a day for a guest fee. Can I play bocce? Can I play pickleball? Can I play tennis?
Yes, that is the way it has always been. It will continue to be that way. You have a guest, if you have a local guest coming to Pelican Marsh to use any of the facilities, they can actually use all of the facilities with payment of that fee for that day.
For one fee, they can play an hour and a half of tennis and an hour and a half of pickle. And just for one $10 fee, or would it be $10 for tennis, $10 for pickle? If they play it on the same day.
It's a $10 flat fee for use of all the amenities. I
They
don't,
can go in the gym, pickle, bocce, tennis.
All amenities.
But they have to be with their host.
Right, or a Pelican Marsh employee in the case of a
Or
West.
Pelican Marsh employee, yeah.
Okay, there being no other questions, I will entertain a motion to, we already did that. So I'll call a question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. 9.3, approval of the design review written report. We have two submissions here, both of which were approved by the design review committee. I will entertain a motion to approve the written report.
I so approve.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. Do we have any board member comments? Do we have any resident comments? Jim?
That's your big thing. I remember when I lived there for 40 years. I don't know much about the restaurant business. I will tell you, In my lifetime, I've never known a restaurant open at 12:30 for lunch. Either you open at 11 o'clock, you get your lunch crowd, or you forget lunch and shut this thing down and not open at 3. If you're gonna open at 3, run some specials from 3 to 5. But this idea of opening at 12:30 for lunch is a non-starter, in my opinion. And I don't, as much money as we're losing, that's not gonna help us one bit. Well, I'd like to know the rationale behind that. Second part of that is because of hours and health, is a management company reducing their fees? I doubt it. So please comment, please tell me why we're doing this. The other thing I would suggest, Thursday night, it could be a good karaoke or a music night or a special or something. But yeah, we're losing our shirt here. There's no question about it. So I think this board or the committee really got to pay attention to how you're operating this thing. 12:30 starts business. It's not going to cut it.
Well, thanks for your opinion, Jim. Much appreciated. So the restaurant operator has told us that they are unable to staff this thing for a 12 o'clock opening. The 11 o'clock opening that we had, nobody came to. So we were bleeding money from 11 to 12. There was just no business. And so we're paying staff. Of course, they're here earlier than that. They're here setting up. There's prep work to be done, as you know, right? So it was not working for us in terms of the finance. And now, of course, this is a new enterprise. It's open. This is our 4th month. Restaurant openings are notoriously difficult, especially in this market at this time. This particular one is difficult because of the seasonal aspect of things here, as we talked about earlier. We are talking to our restaurant operator frequently at a meeting today. And we've talked about just this issue, and they are unable to staff it. So like it to be a different story. I agree with you. For me, lunch is 12 o'clock, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to have lunch at 12:30. We're just unable to get them to change that unless we want to pay them, pay the salary, and it's a difficult thing to do because you have so many hours that a particular person works a week, and when you start adding to that load, you lose them. And we've been losing personnel here like crazy, partially because we're having trouble paying them because nobody's using the place, so tip income, but also the management. It's the same story. Unless we generate some revenue here, we're going to be open less and less and less. And right now, it's not financially feasible to be open at 12:30. And that's at 12 o'clock. You might say, well, it's a half an hour. And when you sit right down to it, you look at the numbers, half hour is a lot. So unfortunately, that's where we stand today. Now, things may change in the fall. What I know right now is that it's a tough road to hoe financially. Yes, Jim.
But what are we doing between 12:30 and 3? I mean, if we're losing so much money, wouldn't it be better to open at 3, have something good between 3 and 5, practice, versus saying, well, we're open at 12:30. Oh, we got dead periods, 3 or 4.
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, we need a little data though. And like I said, we've been open this long and everything has changed dramatically since people stopped coming to the restaurant. So they are working on this. They are thinking about it. We are talking about it. And changes are being talked about in terms of hours, in terms of the format, whether or not a full sit-down meal service is really something that we can afford to provide throughout the summer, or whether it needs to look different. We're working on this every day, spending a lot of time and effort. The board is, as is the oversight committee, as is Paul. It's a difficult problem. This thing is obviously the community wanted it, and we're happy to have it. And we think it will be a net positive community, but right now it's pretty difficult. Were there other questions?
I was just gonna comment, a lot of restaurants don't open until 3 or 5. So opening late, like Jim said, kind of makes sense. The second thought is, and I'm one of the people who has tried to help this, I recommended the Belmont thing. But to me, the question is, I shouldn't have to do that. There should be people who are thinking about what we do for marketing. And I think that fire is lit a little bit. I just would like to see more. I think the community would like to see more, that there is a fire there.
You and me both. So.
Well, wait, let me just finish. You have the power. I don't have power. But there is a committee. What is a committee's report? We don't hear that. We just hear Nathaniel, saying that, well, we started late and we lost a lot of money. But what's the burn rate? What's the revenue in, revenue out every day? Was there data that said shut down at 11 o'clock? I can understand if you don't have people, that's fine. But maybe that says that you should open at 3. Maybe it says you should view yourself as Cheers or Naples Country Club rather than Ridgeways or Salem. People don't want to spend a lot of money and sit outside and eat, but they'll come and get a beer, they'll come and get a drink, they'll come and participate, they'll come and do karaoke, they'll come and watch Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football or the Yankees versus Red Sox game. They'll do those things. So I just think we need, and I'm not a marketing guy, we need marketing thoughts. We don't need people who know how to make food. We need people who know how to bring people in to enjoy what we have. And maybe we're looking at what we have in a different way. Said the community wanted a restaurant. Well, we can debate what they were asked and what they replied, but we need to figure out how to make this work because we've done it. We've taken money from all these people and put it in there. We could have done something else with it. So it's not that the money's gone. We have spent it a certain way. So now we need to figure out how to get the most from that investment. So I would just like to see more evidence of accountability. That means that these meetings, the committee comes in and talks, or I don't know who it is. I don't like committees because committees, point figure.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you.
Someone,
Rich, and to your point, I think that we should be in sync with Crave and Nest about a marketing calendar of certain events. You came up with Belmont very late in the game, and I think we doubled the people that would have been there, maybe even more of what went on, and it was fantastic. If we have a marketing calendar of some sort that we work out with them, I think that would be fantastic because there's so many events through the balance of this year and carrying forward into season that I think would be great for Nest.
So what I would advise you to do, Rich, and all of anybody who has questions about this stuff is to send these questions to Paul, let him forward them to the committee. And get you some answers because believe me when I tell you, we hear a fair amount of criticism on this issue from a lot of different people who have a lot of different ideas about what information should be given to whom, when, and this is like I said before, it's a tough road to hoe right now. So I know, I appreciate your patience, and I understand that everybody wants to know right now what they particularly want to know. So please send your questions in. Let's get them answered. And in terms of the committee giving a report at the board meeting, I think that's a great idea. And we should have a representative here to answer questions just like this because they're meeting with the restaurant operator on a regular basis. Are there any other questions?
I'd like to comment on Richard's comment. I think I agree with you 100%. We have had residents, i.e. Maureen Ferguson, has floated the idea of having Wimbledon, strawberries and cream. Nothing has come out about that. When a couple of months ago at one of the board meetings, it was mentioned there's no advertising from Craig. Who steps in? Lynn. We had the first music. We need something other than food to bring people here who want to enjoy themselves eating and drinking. And I am not on the committee, the oversight and the food committee, but I think you bring up a good point. It's one thing, or go to our website, email. We're human beings. This is a restaurant where we want human beings to come to. I think it is important to have people here for a special meeting. We never have even this many people, usually at a board meeting, but to have maybe a special meeting about ideas so that our residents who pay for this, who live here, particularly the full-time residents, can voice their opinions. And we, the board, the committee, can work on that and not just, okay, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. We need good stuff to happen now.
Thanks, Pat. So just to give you a little bit of an update, we did meet with I joined the oversight committee today, not on that committee. Talked to the restaurant operator today. And we, as you know, pay them a management fee. And our understanding when we formed this arrangement was that this was going to be a turnkey operation for us, that they would do all the management, that they would manage the personnel management, staff management, there would be cost management for food, beverage, and others. There would be marketing management. It is my view that they have fallen short. They've had their own issues. We are working on trying to find some common ground to move forward. I believe that their examination of some recent past problems, which we're all aware of in terms of the high costs and low revenues, are still a work in progress. Their plans for the future are sound pretty good to me, but we need to make sure that we're on top of this and we are monitoring them in a productive way. So this is a complicated issue. It's tough. It's a bad time here in Naples. It's a bad time in the economy. It's a bad time in Pelican Marsh for this restaurant. But we are happy to entertain any and all advice from folks who want to offer it. I just think that we want to do that in a way where it's really productive so that we don't miss stuff. Write it down. Let's get it to Paul. Let's get it to the people who matter in terms of the decision-making and the interaction with the restaurant operator. I've heard some really good suggestions today about hours, about formats. So I think it's great that you guys want to help and participate. Now, if you'll just come eat some stuff, we'll start to move out of this problem. So thank you very much. Any other comments by the board? By the community? Yes, John.
I want to tell you that my credit card bill shows I'm a very avid supporter of this. I'm happy to do it. I think it's a great thing. It's not an amenity that's going to go away. It just needs some fine tuning. But if you remember a couple of Saturdays ago, Nathan sent out a call and everything, go word to everybody to come down and watch the tennis. And we had a big turnout of the thing. That shouldn't be an individual thing. It should be coming from somewhere between Lynn, Paul, and Craig to make that happen.
Let me interrupt you for a minute. Lynn does not work for Craig. Paul does not work for Craig. Craig has a responsibility as our restaurant manager to do PR and marketing. Now, Lynn and Paul are both involved, and this is an issue for me. I think that Lynn is, we all agree, Lynn is a singular talent, but this wasn't the understanding that I had when we were talking about this. So we are continuing discussions with them about this very issue. And I can assure you that everybody on that committee is bristling with interest in terms of how we are going to market this restaurant better, and how they're going to improve communications. Communications has been an issue here. Communications between the operator and the foundation, communications between the committee and the foundation, the residents. had some issues with this. We are working hard to fix them. Some of that is going to require personnel change. And some of it is just attention to detail and rigorous application of what we think is right and what we want to see for our community. So we are working on this. I know I keep making this excuse. It's a tough time. It's a tough issue. But it is at this point in time, we're doing what we can. So we appreciate your.
I think, Steve, to your point as well, this is kind of silly, but we're only about 100 and change days in.
That's not silly. That's reality. And
Exactly.
you know, we have restaurants learning about this in this area that have opened and closed right away. I mean, we have restaurants that have the first month they lost 80%. You know, it's a bad time. I know everyone is eager for this thing to work. It will work. It may look a little different along the way, but we are committed to working out the difficulties. You know, we'll see what has to be done to make this happen. Did you have something you wanted to say, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, just for example, Matt, you and I went back and forth. I mentioned the U.S. Golf Open. It's a golf community, big thing. It's this Sunday. Is anything happening? I don't believe so.
To get them to open on Sunday would be, this late in the game, I think would be an act of God. It would take a lot.
They could do it, and they could do it. They could do it, and we would pay for it. And if you want to pay for a $30 beer, we can get them open Sunday for the US.
That would not be a prudent business decision.
Right.
That could be something someone would do, though.
But that's why I suggested the calendar, Rich. I thought the idea of having a calendar, and that way we can have the right people in the right place to plan that event and make it like the best ever.
Really, it shouldn't be heavy lifting to have
Right.
major sporting events, to have some sort of function at the bar. I mean, this is what bars do. So
The other thought is, if this isn't what they view their job, and they may not have the skills to do that, they may be cooks, we can't expect them to deliver babies, okay? So maybe you have to hire somebody for $150 an hour.
Rich, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second here and ask you to write this down and send it to Paul, because going on with this at this point isn't going to be helpful. But thank
Put it
you.
all down.
Much appreciated. Anybody else? I will entertain.
Steve, you got one online, just one question online. We already answered this question. I think, is the board happy with the present management on site? And I think you've already answered that question.
We are not happy.
Be happy now, but we're hopeful that they're going to make the right changes moving forward.
Committee is actively engaged. The board is engaged. Everybody's engaged. This is a tough situation. We are a few months into it. It is a shifting landscape. We're working on it.
The summary is that just as everyone who's here and anyone who's listening is expressing concerns, residents are expressing concerns. I think what you're saying, Steve, is the committee's expressing concerns, the board feels concerned, and we understand your concerns and are actively working on changes to try to make this better. Some of which your suggestions here might be helpful and be implemented.
Which is why I encourage you to send them in so that they can be looked at by the people who matter in this regard, and we can utilize the diverse talent of our residents to augment our efforts in fixing this problem that we have.
This might be beating a dead horse, but I want to say one more time that it wasn't until I was part of this board that I realized that an important part of the process of this foundation is when a resident feels strongly about a policy or changes in policy, we, the board, and the general manager need to see it in writing. So this is not us shuffling an issue down the road. We're listening and we're responding. However, on parallel tracks, it's super important for us as part of the process of this foundation to have these concerns in writing. So all of you smart and caring people that came here today, just reiterate yourself in writing, send it via email to Paul Magic. Thank you.
So that the next meeting with the restaurant operator, the people who are meeting with him can bring these concerns to the table. You know, and some suggestions, because let's face it, you know, complaining without a suggestion doesn't really help us, but you guys have a lot of good suggestions.